Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a thriller, horror, action film from 2009 titled The Final Destination. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Two couples sit together in the audience of a race car track, Nick and his girlfriend Lori, Hunt and his girlfriend Janet. The bench Nick is sitting on cracks when he puts more weight on it and he asks if the track is safe. Hunt laughs at him and tells him he's only here to see things go wrong. He pulls out a pair of binoculars and uncaps one of the lenses to reveal that it's actually full of alcohol. Nick looks around and notices that even the foundation of the stands is starting to crumble. Oil spills out onto the track and one of the cars skids through it, almost crashing in the cars on the track. The vibrations from the track cause some of the screws holding the protective fence together to come loose. A piece of paper travels through the air and lands next to Nick. It has pictures of all of the drivers who have died on the track. He suddenly gets an eerie feeling that something is wrong. While some mechanics tend to one of the cars, the driver drives off before the team can get all of the tools off. The car goes back onto the track and a screwdriver falls out onto the road. On the next lap, one of the cars hits it and crashes, sending a tire into the audience and killing a woman. The same car, which is now on fire, lands in the crowd. Everyone stampedes as they try to escape from the track, debris from the cars killing people as they struggle. The foundation of the stands crumbles further and huge chunks fall, crushing several of Nick's friends, the others being killed in an explosion, which also sends Nick flying and he is impaled on a metal rod. Nick snaps back to the present and realizes it was all just a vision. His friends notice that he's upset and he proves to them that he knows what's going to happen by predicting some of the things people around them say. He tells them that they have to leave the track immediately because a huge crash is going to happen and lots of people are going to die. Nick trips into several people and causes a small fight. The security guard takes them outside and a stray tire flies off the track and kills the same woman that got tired in the vision. One of the men wants to go back in to save his wife, but the security guard won't let him for his own safety. They watch as the entire stadium explodes and crumbles. The four friends meet up at a coffee shop afterwards to discuss what happened at the track and question Nick about his vision. They watch news coverage of the accident on the TV and learn that there will be a memorial for those who died at the track. Only Nick and Janet decide to go, the rest don't believe they're lucky for surviving. While at the memorial, several people thank Nick for his warning to leave. George, the security guard, also thanks him, and the redneck that tried to get back inside, Carter, confronts George by calling him racial slurs and threatening his life. Nick wakes up from a violent nightmare and pictures of him and Janet fall from their bedside table onto the floor, where a knife rolls off and stabs Janet's picture. Carter drives a tow truck down the street at night. He is blasting music and obviously drunk. He pulls up outside of George's house and parks the truck. He starts getting supplies ready to set George's house on fire, but instead ends up getting his ankle caught in the tow chain and spills gasoline on the pavement. The truck starts to drive on its own and drags Carter behind it, the sparks from the chain igniting the gasoline and setting Carter on fire. Janet and Lori watch TV coverage of Carter's strange death and Nick has another vision. Nick tells Lori that his dream last night predicted Carter's death and that the vision he just had probably predicted another one, but he isn't sure who's going to die next. A mom and her two kids get out of their van, the same ones from the track. The boys throw rocks at nearby signs while a man fills his lawnmower with gasoline. The mother gives the kids money for a local arcade while she goes inside a hair spa. She explains that she knows she's late but begs them to give her another appointment anyway. The staff ends up staying late specifically to do her hair. The chair she sits in is broken and sometimes drops to the lowest setting without warning. The hairdresser does hairdresser things and leaves her with a thing over her head while she goes to get her some water. The receptionist knocks some product bottles over while she sweeps and the fan above the woman is loose. The hairdresser left the hair straightener on and the condensation from the glass of water causes a bottle of hairspray to slide across the table and make contact with it. The boys enter the store and slip on the product in the lobby. The heat from the hair straightener sends the bottle flying and causes the fan to come crashing down in front of the woman getting her haircut. They leave, and as soon as she walks through the door, the man mowing the lawn hits one of the rocks and it goes flying across the street and goes straight through her eye, killing her. The four friends discuss the accident. Nick tells them that he was able to predict her death because of his visions. He thinks that everyone who died at the track in his vision that escaped in real life is still meant to die. Neither Hunt or Janet believes Nick, but Janet gets so upset that she decides to leave. Hunt also leaves, saying that if he's going to die, he might as well get laid first. Nick has another vision but isn't able to understand it very well. He figures out that people are dying in the same order as in his vision, so they visit the track to jog his memory. At the track, they are confronted by George. They explain why they're there and George offers to let them look at the security footage from that day so he might be able to remember. Nick realizes that the mechanic is next, and that if they can save him, they might be able to stop the rest of them from dying. The three go to the man's work to try to explain that he's in danger, but he doesn't believe them. They go outside the shop to talk privately, and a car rolls out from the shop and almost crashes into the mechanic. He realizes his lucky break and tries to walk away, but a stray air tank flies through the yard and kills him instantly. Nick tells Laurie and George that because they couldn't save the mechanic, Hunt and Janet are next, but he doesn't know who will be first because they died at virtually the same time in his vision. They agree to split up. Nick goes to try and find Hunt, and George and Laurie go to try and find Janet. Hunt is at a public pool and goes to sunbathe. Janet gets in her car and a bird poops on her windshield while she is driving. She tries to use the wipers to get it off, but it doesn't work and she can't really see while she drives. Hunt gets into a fight with a kid at the pool and takes his water gun away from him and throws it behind a maintenance fence where it hits the machine that controls the pool's water level. The knob turns and the pool begins draining. Janet arrives at a car wash and receives a call from Laurie just as she is about to go in. Laurie tries to warn her that she's in danger, but Janet hangs up and continues going into the car wash. She doesn't retract her radio antenna before going inside and the machines snap it off and it flies into a mechanical box. Her car stops moving on the track and she is unable to get out. A pipe overhead bursts and starts leaking onto the top of the car. Janet tries to drive the car forward, but isn't able to, and the sunroof opens on its own, allowing gallons of water to pour into the car and on top of Janet. The car quickly begins to fill with water. Hunt sunbathes beside the pool and is hit with a golf ball from a nearby golf course, causing him to drop his lucky coin. The coin rolls along the pavement and into the pool and gets pulled towards the drain. Hunt jumps in after it, but gets sucked in and starts suffocating, unable to get himself out. Janet sticks her head out of the sunroof to try and get some air and the sunroof closes around her neck. The track begins moving her car again and she gets closer and closer to some of the car wash tools. George drives their car through the car wash coming the opposite way and pushes Janet's car back out of the way of the machines. Laurie comes to Janet and helps her climb out through the sunroof before some of the overhead pipes fall on them. Nick looks for Hunt at the pool but isn't able to find him. The drain pressure builds and eventually becomes so strong that it sucks Hunt's intestines out of his butt. The machine clogs with organs and the pool fills with blood. George realizes that he's next to die, and decides that he's at peace with it. He returns home and accepts his fate. Laurie and Nick return to their apartment and lock up everything sharp and make sure everything that could fall over is secure. As they work, they realize that George isn't next, Laurie is. They run to George's house to let him know, and when they get there they find that he has tried to hang himself. They help him down and he explains that he's been trying to kill himself all day but nothing has worked. Nick tells George that he thinks saving Janet broke the chain and that no one else is going to die. They make a toast and talk about future plans. Laurie and Nick decide to plan a vacation together. Several months later, Nick calls Laurie while he packs their bags for their vacation. Laurie is at the mall waiting to meet up with Janet so they can do some last-minute shopping and go see a movie before Laurie leaves. They hang up and Laurie and Janet go through the mall together. Nick gets a vision while he packs, and sees another tragedy. The TV remote falls and turns the channel to a news report about a man in the hospital who has remained unidentified this entire time who was just found out to be someone who survived the accident at the racetrack. Nick realizes that because the man is still alive, he got the order wrong. In a physical therapy unit, a doctor fills a large tub for his patient to take a bath in. The doctor gets called away and forgets to turn off the water. The water overflows and the patient is unable to do anything to stop it. Nick and George rush to the hospital where the man is being kept. He is staying in the room directly under the room where the tub has overflowed, and water is beginning to leak through the ceiling tiles and drip onto the equipment he is hooked up to. The equipment shocks him and he tries to get himself unattached and crawl out of the bed. Nick and George walk into the room just as the tub from the room above falls through the ceiling and crushes the man. As Nick and George leave the hospital, George is struck by an ambulance and killed. There is construction outside and inside the mall where Laurie and Janet are. In one of the rooms where construction is being done, a nail gun gets jammed and is left on the table. Heat and sunlight cause some of the piles of sawdust to catch on fire. Laurie and Janet are in the movie theater, which happens to be on the opposite side of the wall as the construction site. Laurie gets a major deja vu and notices some of the people in the audience saying and doing the same things as the people were doing on the day of the big accident. Laurie starts to get freaked out and tells this to Janet, but she just brushes her off. Nick has another vision and speeds to the mall to try and find Janet and Laurie. The fire in the construction room starts to make its way towards explosives. Nick figures out which theater Laurie and Janet are in and he tells them about what happened to George and the other unidentified man. Janet still doesn't want to believe him and refuses to leave the theater. The construction site explodes, sending debris through the movie screen and killing members of the audience. Nick and Laurie run as the rest of the theaters explode and eventually the whole mall catches on fire and starts collapsing. They try to take an escalator to safety but it breaks down and Laurie gets pulled into the machinery and dies. Nick comes back to reality and realizes that he just had another lengthy vision. He is outside the hospital with George and is about to warn him when he gets hit by an ambulance. Nick wastes no time rushing to the mall and locating the construction site behind the movie theater. He notices the fire and tries to pull the fire alarm but it isn't hooked up yet. He grabs a fire extinguisher but it runs out before he can completely put out the fire. The nail gun falls off the table and nails Nick's arm to the wall and also penetrates the barrels of liquid explosives and they begin leaking out onto the floor and spilling towards the fire. Nick tries to pull his arm free to stop the liquid from making contact. Unable to free himself, he grabs a long plank of wood and catches the end on fire and brings the flame up towards the sprinkler system and gets the water to activate and put out the fire. 2 weeks later, Janet, Laurie, and Nick all meet up at the same cafe. They discuss their good fortune and a man inside recognizes Nick and thanks him for putting out the fire in the mall. As they drink their coffees, Nick starts recognizing ominous signs around the restaurant. On the table there is a scribble saying it's coming. He tells his friends that what if they didn't change anything, but it was all predetermined for them to be here at this time. As he says that, a semi-truck rams into them, killing everyone instantly. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this.